Hey everybody, and welcome back to Sunshine and Serenity. And on this week's video, we are picking up where we left off on last week's video. So if you did not watch our last video, go back and watch it and see what all we preserved in the kitchen last week. But this video, we are just picking up where we left off because we still have a lot of kitchen items that we're working through. We still have a lot that we have to preserve. If you caught my last video, you know that we grow a garden every year here in Central Arkansas, Zone 7. And we will be in the peak harvest season when we get our tomatoes and our peppers, and we will just bring those in, and we will actually take those and we will stick them in freezer bags and throw them in the freezer rather than go ahead and preserving them at that time, because it's a lot easier for us to work through them in the fall and the winter time when things are not so busy. And so that's what we do. We just throw things in the freezer. And then also a lot of times we will just preserve things as we get them. So like if we get a bulk order of, say, a vegetable or a bulk order of some fruit, we'll work through it at that time. But that just makes things a little more easy and a little more manageable. So yeah, so go check out last video and see what all we preserved, because we're just going to be picking up right where we left off, finishing up some kitchen projects this week. If you are new, welcome to the channel. We are so excited to have you. We are a family homesteading for the first time in Arkansas, Central Arkansas, Zone 7B. We bought this property back in February, so we are on our very first homesteading journey, and we are so excited that you have decided to join us on that journey. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. We are excited to have you back and excited for you guys to check out what we are doing on the homestead. So if you guys are interested to see what we are preserving and what we are working in the kitchen this week, stay tuned because that is what we are going to be doing in this video. So first things first, we have some pears to work through. So if you watched last video, you know that I worked through some apples. We made apple pie filling with the apples, and then we made some apple scrap jelly with the scraps. And so this time we are working with pears. So we are just going to get all of our pears worked through, and we are going to actually turn this into pear sauce. And we may do a couple of pints or a couple of quarts of actual chopped pears, but we still have quite a bit of canned pears from last year that we are still eating on, and the kids are still eating through, so we may not make as many just loose pears or as many, say, like chopped or canned pears. We're going to turn a lot of it into pear sauce, and we're going to use our crock pot to do that. So if you're interested to learn how to do that, I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So that's our first project for today, is to work on these pears. So I'm going to get all these pears washed, and then as soon as I get them washed, I'll pop back on here and show you guys what the next step is. Okay, so now that we have them all washed, I and my handy dandy helper over here, we are armed and dangerous. We are armed with our peelers, and we are going to get all these peeled, and then we will come back and show you the next step in the process when we have all these peeled. So now that we have most of these peeled, my little helper back there is working on the very last pear. We are going to, I'm going to get them all cored and basically kind of chopped up, and then we'll get them in the crock pot, and I'll show you what the process is for that. Okay, so now that I got all of my pears kind of roughly chopped, I added the water and the lemon juice. I will put the recipe in the description box below of this video for all of you who are wondering about the recipe, but I just added the water and the lemon juice, and we're just going to put the lid on it. And we are going to turn it over to low. And this is going to cook on low for 8 to 10 hours. And then once that's up, the pears should be nice and soft. So then at that point, we will mash the pears up. If you want a chunkier applesauce, you will just leave them kind of mashed up chunky. If you want a finer or thinner, not necessarily thinner, but if you want a more smooth consistency, you will take a stick blender and use that to basically blend it up into the applesauce. And then we'll also add the spices and all of that once all these are cooked down and we get it all blended up. But yeah, so that's step one for our pear applesauce. And then we also ended up with pear scraps and cores, so we are going to be making pear scrap jelly with those as well, so nothing goes to waste. But that is the project that we did today. Okay, so I have had my pears cooking on low, and they are pretty soft and ready, and I added all of my spices, which included nutmeg, ground cinnamon, and ginger, according to the recipe, and again, I'll link that in the comments. So now I'm just going to take my immersion blender and I'm going to blend it up to where it is a little more of a smooth consistency. I have got my jars over in the water bath canner heating up and getting ready. And then whenever those are heated up and ready, we will put them into our jars and then we will process them in the water bath. Okay, so I was able to get the pear sauce canned up. Again, I will put that recipe in the link below. And it gave me 2 quarts of pear sauce. Again, it wasn't a ton, but it was something where you could do a little bit at a time here and there and put up what you can when you have it. And so these will go on our shelf, and I'll be able to use these in our apple, like our applesauce loaf recipe, but use pear butter instead, or sorry, pear sauce instead, or if the kids want some pear sauce, we can open it, eat it like an applesauce. So yeah, so that's what we did in this week's preparation. So if you have any questions or comments, put them below. Let me know what you are putting up this week or what you're doing this week, where you're at. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and y'all have a blessed week.